Hello Sagittarius, I'm Elizabeth Ashley, Secret Healer. Welcome to my channel, list of essential oils and their uses, and welcome to your August 2020 reading. The Sun Goddess decided to take the place in the shed to turn up for Leo season. So together, she and I are going to do your reading with the Tongue of the Trees cards. Now these are essential oil oracle cards, designed by myself and Hungarian aromatherapist Gergely Halodi, and they are designed to bypass the conscious mind, the decisions we make about the knowledge we know of essential oils, and talk to the unconscious mind to find out what we're looking for emotionally in life. So we are going to do a Ring of the Trees reading for you. So I'm going to draw you 13 cards, and then I will show those as we go. I'll tell you a little bit about the spread, and then I'll turn the camera around for you to see your reading. Goodness me. Third time this has come out as the first card. This is Monarda. For those of you who don't know anything about Monarda, goodness, I can tell you a lot because one of my favourite oils, and I've written a book about her. You are followed by Hyssop. This is nice. Ylang Ylang Delight, number 3. Number 4, Galbanum. Who am I? That's what that says. Juniper. That one's having a lot of outings as well. Pomerosa. Tea tree. Rosemary. Cypress. Number 10 is lime. Number 11 is eucalyptus. Number 12 is mandarin. Number 13 is yarrow. I've got to tell you, the thing that's jumping out here at me is chest infections. We'll have a look in a minute. We'll do a reading. So this Ring of the Trees reading was originally made for me to use with pain patients. So I am a clinical aromatherapist, hence all of the essential oils behind us. That I am a medical astrologer, but I also am a pain practitioner, and I teach other aromatherapists how to manage chronic pain. And one of the main things that we see is people come to us who've been to see the doctor many times, and they've had an MRI, and they've had x-rays, and they've had analgesics, and they've had all sorts of painkillers, and nothing's working, and the doctor can't explain it, and the doctor says, I just think it might be stress. And they go, really? Because it's rude. It's rude. It's right, but it feels very rude. So, but it's very vague, isn't it? It feels trite. So these cards were designed to be able to go past the conscious mind where the pain lives, and to say to the unconscious mind, tell us about these issues in the tissues. Why does the pain happen? What are you trying to say? And what's great about that is that means that for me, I no longer have to go to the textbook and say, well, I want an analgesic oil, which is lavender. I want an oil that will talk to the mindset, the healing mindset. So when I'm doing that reading, I read backwards in a spiral anti-clockwise. But I found that if I read forwards, what we can see is the month unfolding, you developing, and seeing the challenges that happen through the month, which is interesting. And this month there are definite challenges. There's some great opportunities. You know, eclipse season is over, so all of this explosive feeling like things have been cut out of your life, and new beginnings, new endings, explosive stuff stops. The Mercury retrograde, thank heavens, is over. Venus retrograde is over. So finally we can wear a sparkly headdress, you know. We feel better about ourselves. And Mercury and Venus are fast moving planets. And they make some beautiful alignments this month. So that comes out as great opportunities for you. And so we can see here, there are some lovely cards to be able to work out how we tap into that. But in the same way, there's all sorts of stuff going on in your second house, has been for a while. So Saturn's retrograde there, Pluto's retrograde there, Jupiter's retrograde there, and now what's going to happen is Mars, not retrograde yet, but planet getting ready to go retrograde, will come into alignment, and it's a very harsh alignment with those planets, and also creates a harsh alignment with the black moon. What's the black moon? I'll tell you in a minute when I turn the cards around. But so what that means is it's very tense for everybody. Everybody through August is going to feel, ugh. And we understand this feeling of everybody now, don't we? Because we've been going through a joint cosmic experience for many months now, locked down, scared of this virus, and this is going to be a similar cosmic lesson. So to have this laid out here is really helpful to us. So I am going to turn the camera around so you can see the cards. Hello Sagittarius, welcome to your cards. Let me quickly show you where the layout is, because obviously it's different when we pull them out, don't we? So this was number 1, and oddly this has come out as number 1 in so many readings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember, we're following the ring of the trees and how it grows. 10, 11, 12, 13. And as it spirals out in its growth, so we see the development of the personality. That way. There's the personality. Do that again. There. So let me tell you a little bit about the astrology first before I start talking about Monada. So I think for every single sign, we're kind of a game of two halves this month, where there's really good stuff, but there is also some really harsh, difficult stuff coming up. It's just the way that things are. So let's talk about the difficult stuff first. Let's get that out of the way. You have lots going on in your second house at the moment, which is Capricorn. You have Saturn retrograde there, you have Pluto retrograde there, and Jupiter. And what's going to happen is Mars is going to move into a position that is going to feel very awkward to them and activate them more. We also have a black moon, which is like a theoretical place in the chart, and several different things can manifest black moons. In the case this month is that there are 4 new moons in a season. So you might remember back in June we had a solar eclipse right at the beginning of June, and then we had another new moon at the end at around about 28 degrees of the sign. So because we haven't got new moon, it feels awkward. The whole of the planet feels this slight shift, and it feels like the rhythm is stilted. And what that then creates when you have a black moon is urges and explosions and triggers. That was the word I was trying to find, triggers. So if you imagine that then you put that black moon into alignment with Mars, the god of war, of aggression, then these triggers become explosions. And then we also put that in another alignment with Pluto, the god of transformation, then it's all quite harsh. So what we'll see is around about the 13th and the 24th, difficult stuff coming up. Now, everybody else have been able to read as a series of events. What I see here is the need for detoxification and get calm. Right, so if we talk for a second about the microcosm of the macrocosm, because I think it's really important to kind of put this into context for this month. What we see here on the board of your cards is a representation of what we see reflected in what's going on with you, which is a representation of what's going on around in your family, in your greater sphere, in your town, country, the whole world and then reflected in the skies. And I think in August we will see this very, very strongly. So I think it's really important to identify what are the key skills of your sign and of you as a person. And definitely Sagittarius is just very flexible, friendly, helpful people. I have a definite soft spot for Sagittarians, and you know, that energy hasn't really fitted in with what was going on with the eclipses. We had a series of we've got 6 eclipses this year, but the series that's been going on for 18 months has taken in place in the sign of Cancer and Capricorn. And, you know, Cancer is emotions and feelings, and Sag is a mutable sign. So you're very social, you're very outgoing, but you exist in your mental faculties rather than your emotions. So it's felt very, very difficult. Now, so I recommend that you watch a video, Annie Botticelli's video this month, because she talks about the energy of the eclipses, of us all trying to adapt to the new normal. And she talks about it feeling like a baby giraffe, how baby giraffes is trying to walk as soon as they're born, because obviously they are a hunted species by lions, etc. So they have to move very, very quickly. She talks about how everybody feels like that they're in this giraffe kind of energy, but the Geminis and Sagittarians more than anybody else, because it's been very, very jarring energy. And I've noticed that on all of the ones that she's talked about, the baby giraffe, we also see it in Palmarosa coming up here. So we'll read that in a different way, but I just thought, yeah, this new it feels more right, this energy for you, these new Gemini Sagittarian shifts. And of course, Venus is going forward, and so is Mercury. So all of that stuff with, I can't have my hair cut, I certainly shouldn't have it coloured, because I shouldn't make dramatic changes to my appearance, and I shouldn't sign contracts. It's all gone. We can do all of those things. So this feels really social, really good stuff. But when yesterday I was doing some maths with my little boy, and we had a question that came up about elks, and he went, well, I can do the maths, but I don't know what an elk is. And I told him loads and loads about these elks, and he said, you're really loving the elks, aren't you? I said, I am, because my favourite oil is elk medicine. And then lo and behold, Monarda elk medicine turns up in the same place in a quarter of the readings, isn't it? 3 out of 12 readings, a quarter. It's an oil that hardly anybody uses, and then it turns up as the most important card in 3 readings. So let's talk about the elks and talk about Monarda. So if you don't know, in fact, I've meant to say this, if you're in the States, you can get Monarda from Nature's Gift. If you are in the UK, you can get it, I think you can get it from Fragrant Earth, but you can definitely get it from Oshadi, because I know that everybody's going to be messaging me and saying, where do I get Monarda? So I collect Monarda plants because it's such a useful plant, and you can make it into a tea. And mainly for that, you use the leaves. But it's worth going to your garden centre to see if you can get Monarda, because it's such a helpful herb as well as an essential oil. So it belongs to the Native American indigenous peoples medicine. I'm sorry, I'm shaking you. So they use it in many different ways. So for example, if they have a new baby born in the tribe, they take the leaves and fill the bathtub with water and the leaves, and they bathe the baby in a Monarda bath to help to fortify it and protect it. It's also very important to 2 of their rituals. The first is the sun dance. The second is the steam, the sweat lodge. So I think it's Virgo. If you want to know more about the sun dance, go and watch the Virgo video, because I talked about it lots more in there. I'm not going to for you because I don't think it's as important. What I think is important to you here, I think, is how they use it in the Sweat Lodge. So let's talk quickly about the elks to understand the relationship there. So the totem animal has the qualities that the elders have seen by watching the animal. And elks are very social animals. You'll understand that, being a Sagittarian. They really like to be in big crowds. They move in herds, but when you watch them, what you'll notice is they congregate with others of their own sex. So all the girl ones like to join together and all the boy ones like to join together. And this is very yin medicine, very feminine, very passive, very submissive. So I always say, when I'm working with Menard, it feels like I'm sitting in a quilting circle, you know, that lovely chit chat of just girls talking and passing the time of day and just very carefully watching to see if everybody's all right, and, you know, saying nothing but watching everything, you know. It's just this lovely protective medicine. And if you read any of the work by a lady called Kiva Rose, she talks about how it's so light, the energy's like floating off on butterfly wings. And incidentally, I've written a book about Monada, so I will put that in the description so that you can see as well. So it's a really fantastic medicine for making you submissive to things that are going on. So useful, for example, if you are ill and you keep getting out of bed and you should be resting, then that's a fantastic oil to use. But the elks, as I say, they like to congregate together, but occasionally an elk will go off on their own. And you'll see this elk will be on its own for weeks, maybe even months. And the other elks don't mind at all. Nobody goes and interrupts. They're just aware that they need that time away. And when they come back, it seems they just give her a nudge and they're like, oh, this is what we're doing. Pick your stitch up, you know. So the elders and the Lakota people try to emulate that kind of activity. Now, it's slightly different from us as a certainly as an English person. We like to talk, we like to discuss, we like to talk things through with other people, and that's kind of it in the quilting circle, isn't it? But if we talk about how, you know, things are said but not said within the circle, that's very much the nature of the Sweat Lodge, that you go and you work out your stuff quietly in the environment that's sacred away from everybody else, and everybody respects that space, and it takes as long as it takes. So how they would do that is they build a fire within the lodge, they put rocks on top of it, they then throw the Monada plant and water on top, so it creates this amazing steam. So you have this physical detoxification, but also an emotional and mental detoxification as well. The whole of this reading says detox to me, liver detox. So we'll talk about that as we go. But hyssop is a really interesting card to have here, because hyssop is an oil that's very high in ketones. We use it for things like coughs and colds. There's loads of coughs, I have to say, on here. Lots of cough medicine. We use it to break down stuff. So if you've got like a lot of gunk on your chest, a lot of catarrh, the ketones are very good at breaking them down. If you have bad scar tissue on your hand, like a keloid scar, ketones are very good at breaking that down. If you if you read any work by Dr. Malte Hosel, incidentally, I mentioned Oshadi as being the people that I get my Monada from. He is the owner of Oshadi, and he talks about the chemical groups in depth, and he does a lovely lecture about ketones, where he calls them the disincarnators. So he gives a lovely analogy, actually. If you read the crucifixion story, then when Christ was on the cross, they gave him some vinegar on a sponge that was on a hyssop branch, and it's almost like as he sucked on the hyssop, then his spirit would separate from the physical body. Now, if we think about your astrology for a moment, you've got a full moon on the 3rd of the month in Aquarius, which is your 3rd house. 3rd house is thinking processes. It's meditation practices. It's learning to still the mind. So you've got this big emphasis on how the mind works. And then later in the month, Mars is still going direct at the moment, but soon, later on in the month, it will start to go into shadow. And then in September the 9th, I think it starts to go retrograde in Aries. So if we think about the energy of Mars, Mars is ambition, a masculine energy, a warrior energy, it's drive and motivation. It's in its own sign of Aries, which rules all of those things too. So it's in a lovely position for Sagittarius where it sits. But as it starts to go into shadow, then as it goes retrograde, it moves, it works differently. So I put that really poorly. When it's going direct, it takes a day to move through 1 degree of the sign, so it moves quickly. So if you imagine that you have that drive, that ambition, moving with that energy, it moves a great distance and you can move stuff very quickly. As it goes into shadow, it takes 2 days to go through a degree. And as it goes in retrograde, it's 4 days to move a degree. What that means is when you're trying to bring a project to fruition, everything seems to like you're trying to wade through mud. Now, as Sagittarians, you are a mutable sign. As a Cancerian, I want to say you have scattered energy, but that's not true. You're just very good at kind of doing this. You know, you're multi-skilling. You've got lots of irons in the fire, you know. But as Mars starts to go retrograde, that will become more difficult. And this here is saying, A, you might feel quite angry about it, but B, we need to move inwards and start looking after the faculties that respond to anger. The main faculty that responds to anger is the liver. So look at here from the point of view of a liver reading, right? So that's a hepatic oil. Hepatic means liver. Hepatic. This is a detoxifying oil. 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 This is, remember, if we say that aggressive and Mars energy is yang, this is absolutely the reverse to that. This is what keeps you calm and safe out of trouble when you are potentially going to be triggered this month. We are going quiet. We are going inwards. We are going to separate our physical body from our emotional body and our spiritual body, and we are going to start to move upwards into the higher realm. Now, that higher realm, everything's happening in the 9th house. Higher realm is 9th house. For you, Mercury moves into the 4th house, which, sorry, say that again. On the 4th, Mercury moves into your 9th house. Then on the 11th, Vesta moves into your 9th house. Then on the 18th, we have a new moon in Leo, which is your 9th house. 9th house is all about spiritual stuff and the quest for higher knowledge, the move upwards. So things like spiritual growth, philosophy, higher education, but also judicial. So, for example, if there's something to do with courts or documents, but also it rules authority and it rules the liver. All 9th house stuff. Here, this is an amazing oil to become acquainted with. If you don't have galbanum, looking at where it falls in your reading, it's worth investing in a little bit. It's quite an expensive ore because it's an absolute. But it says, who am I? What am I here for? This is the first time today that I have actually read any of these poems, but I think it would be useful to read you the poem to understand why that one comes out. 1 second. So it says, be still, very, very still, and then inhale me. Watch carefully without eyes and listen without ears. Feel how I speak deeply inside. Sink my deep, heavy molecules right to your core. I speak to the solar plexus, well of self-esteem, of identity, strength and purpose, and the intimate knowledge of who I am. I bring stillness from your searching and peaceful moments in the storm. On days when you feel like you're not enough or exhausted to your core, breathe me in deeply. Let me fill you with resolution. Once more. Again, ruled by Venus. Venus tempers Mars. Here we have a detoxification oil in the purest sense. So detoxifying of the mind in terms of letting go of past traumas, but specifically in the body. So things like if we have aches and pains for your rheumatism and arthritis, I would always choose juniper. Here we've got that giraffe again, but let's put it in the context of the reading. Palmarosa is extremely good at being able to identify what's holding you back, whether that would be a memory, a trauma, a person, a situation. If you meditate with Palmarosa, it's like bringing the sword of Archangel Michael and severing the tie. It's about moving forward and setting back these relationships. Now, here, in this reading, it doesn't feel like a person. It feels like... I feel like you feel held back by your lack of knowledge about something. Given that first full moon that we're talking about is in the 3rd house, that's the mind, but it's also the words that you choose, how you communicate, teacher, student, archetype. It's about transference of knowledge, of data, of information. I feel like you have a missing piece of information. Now, bear in mind that everything else that's happening, the good stuff, is happening in your 9th house, which says higher education. So potentially you might say, well, I can see that I know a bit about that, but I feel, what's the word? Let me take time to get the word. I can't get the word. I feel inadequate of being able to speak upon it. I feel unqualified. That was the word I was trying to get. I feel unqualified to be able to talk about it or to be able to do it. And I really think that this is something that I would like to get information about. And I don't know why it makes you feel angry, but I feel like it does. Maybe, yeah, maybe you can't afford to do it. Something like that. This obstacle that's stopping you being able to get that information is really, it makes you hostile. You feel very angry. Oh my goodness, I can feel it coming through now. I don't know, has somebody done something to you that means that you have no money? Maybe this is where the judicial stuff comes in. But I feel like whatever it is, you see that obstacle as being somebody else's fault. Now, you are such a generous set of people, but you do hold grudges. And this is saying, come on, this is potentially time to let go of that. That feels like an excuse. Don't know, maybe you can get something of that. But it's followed by, you see, this is another respiratory oil, but this is about insights into situations. Okay, so I'm being told to tell you about my dad. So my dad was Sagittarian, or that hurt to say was. was a Sagittarian, and you know, nothing ever seemed to faze him. He was a very honourable person, a very level person, and it took a lot to irritate my dad or make him angry, to be honest. But when he did, he went off like a bottle of pop. But I could count the amount of times he did that on one hand. Don't remember seeing my dad angry very often. But if somebody upset him, it was going to come back on them a much later date, and he would remember, and he would remember, and he would remember, and he would remember, and long after they had done what they had done, and long after they'd forgotten. And he wasn't two-faced. He just let them carry on, you know, just let them go. He used to say, wind them up and watch them go, and they'd think that they were in the clear. And then out of nowhere, he would find a way to get them back, and they would never know it had come from him because it was so far away. Very, very Sagittarian quality. And this feels like that. It's like immediately you can, Palmarosa helps you to say, right, okay, all right, if you've got to get your own back, you've got to get your own back. But we've got to cut this because this is an obstacle in your head and you're preventing yourself from moving forward. So I'm going to help you to look at this, to analyse what you need to keep, what you need to diarise, what you need to hide away from everybody else, and what you can just say, right, okay, but I don't need that piece of information and I can move on. And I am going to find ways to overcome this hurdle that seems to be stopping me and stop using this excuse. So yeah, this is saying to me, look for the excuse you're making. I don't know whether that rings true. As I said, we're talking about a new moon in the house of the mind. You don't get more cephalic oil, or cephalic, depending on how you say it, oil than rosemary. Rosemary is bossy as hell. She and I are not friends, but she feels lovely in here because she's talking to tea tree and saying, right, well, move that over there then. Move it over there. We don't need that. Yeah, I can use that. I can use that. Let's be focused. Let's prioritise. Let's move on. I don't know. Maybe this works for you. I don't know. But it feels like as soon as you make that conscious decision to say, that was an excuse. That's an excuse. No, I am going to find a way to do this. So remember, you don't have to pay for university fees to get more knowledge in something. You can go out and research, and there's so many, you know, we're living in a society where information is available to you all of the time. And it's like Rosemary takes your hand and says, well, you're all right. Well, we are stuck. You can't afford that at the moment. Well, let's find a way to find the money to do that, but we don't have to put it on the back burner. We can get rid of that excuse, but let's move forward. And it's making conscious decisions all the way through. I like it. I like it. I like this sort of Sagittarius Jupiter energy that's going on. Even though it's anger, there is definite anger. There is definite stuff with your liver. We'll talk about that in a moment. But it is about gaining authority, getting authority, and transitioning to something new. It's like there's two, you know how in every set of playing cards you have the jokers, and I've yet to understand what the jokers are for. I really don't get it, but they're there for whatever they're there, you know. Well, in these cards we have two cards that seem to be the transition cards. We have Cyprus and we have Angelica, and they're both ruled by Pisces, Aries cusp. Pisces is the old life, Aries the new life, the old part of the zodiac. And then when we go to Aries, we are in the toddler, in the case of I am. Now remember how we've been talking about Mars and this case of I am. Yeah, what I want. And it's allowed. The whole of this says you are allowed to say, this is what I want. And you know, Sagittarians think a lot about other people. Not as much as the Libras, but they're, you know, you're mutable signs. You're very generous people. But this is saying it's okay to think about what you want. It's okay to feel, we're back to unqualified, but it still doesn't feel right. It still feels unfulfilled, unsatisfactory, incomplete. That's the word. It's all right to feel incomplete. And if you think that this information, this knowledge, this philosophy that you want to gain, these skills, although skills is not so much ninth house as knowledge. If you want to skill up though, then that's great. That will take you to a whole new level, a whole new life. We're going from Pisces to Aries, don't forget. But actually, I'm being told, don't forget to tell you about the graveyard. So that says to me that there won't be any going back. You know, once you have made a Cyprus decision, Cyprus is about transitioning to something new. And, you know, that's kind of the key with that kind of knowledge, isn't it? Once you know it, you can't unknow it, you know? So just be absolutely clear that is what you want to do. But if you've made that decision that you're ready to let go of of the giraffe, or to get Archangel Michael involved, to cut that tie, to remove that excuse, then this is absolutely the time. And I was thinking, well, I don't know why that's in this reading, but now I've come to it, I can tell you exactly what it feels like. It feels like the student union. It feels like that moment, you know, gay pride, all of the, I am so fiercely invested in this. I feel so part of the flow of something new, and it feels vital and important and celebratory, and I'm so proud of this. I always say that Lyme is like the Mardi Gras, you know, that feel of festival. There's so many people, everybody's dancing, there's fantastic costumes, and it just feels amazing. Now, we don't get that energy right now anywhere else, so to be able to tap into that is lovely. So to me, I feel like if you do decide that you're going to learn this stuff, it's going to feel so fulfilling, so exciting, so full of colour for you. And that's a bit of a warning, I guess. That's saying don't get sucked in and become too much of the party. Be your own, to your own self, be true. I kind of am fascinated by this feeling of, why are we incarnated at this moment of time? What is it about our souls that means that we witness and are part of this massive shift in the earth, in the people of the earth, in society, in the crumbling of the economy, of the rising of the light workers? What is it about me? And this is saying to me, don't forget that you are the reason that you're there, you know, that okay, so tell you about the child in the mirror. Okay, so it's kind of like thinking of the conscience and the good talk and the bad talk that goes on in your mind, isn't it? And you can say, you can have these arguments going backwards and forwards. And what I always teach my students, in particular my pain students, is those are nothing more than neurotransmitters firing. They are not you. And so when we're trying to learn to meditate, if we take the in-breath in, that conscious breath in, that's the first time that we actually communicate with ourselves. And as we close our eyes and we say, hello, the voice that says hello, that's you. Those other stuff are not you. They're chemical firings, that's all. So, for example, if you looked in the mirror now, is the person that looks back at you, you? Well, we would say yes, but then we would say, right, okay, but if you had looked in the mirror when you were 12 and the person that looked back at you, was that you? And you say yes, but no, that looks like a completely different person. So what about when you were 3? Was that person you? And you say yes, but well, that doesn't look anything like me now, or sound anything like me. And it's that voice at the back that's been with you since conception, that lies right underneath all of the social conditioning, all of the things that we've learned, that absolute essence of you. That's you. And that's the part of you that is striving to go on that journey. So be very aware that when you're standing with the carnival and you're seeing all of the exciting stuff and you're listening you are being influenced, don't try and become something you're not. Listen, sort, think about what works for you and discard what doesn't. But at every single point, think, who's looking back at me in the mirror? Is it me, or is it a reflection of somebody else that I have constructed because this party feels so bloody great? You know, we are in a Mardi Gras. Of course you want to be there because it's so exciting. But this journey says to me, yeah, but you're ready to go because you've got something to offer. And so therefore we should hold true to that. So just be careful of that. Remember to, look at it. This is so exciting. We've got so much fruit. We've got so much happy stuff. That, though, is the opposite to that. You know, when we look at it, when we have it as a physical medicine, they're very similar. They smell very similar, but they're very different. You know, this one, she's standing on a float with pineapples on her hair and showing everyone then her boobs because she's got the smallest possible bra on and it's all covered in sequins. She's sitting at Raffles. She's got a white suit on, beautifully pressed, lovely hat. She's got genteel porcelain around her and she is sipping her tea, excuse me, very carefully. And she's dignified, right? And this is what this is saying to me. You now have to reconcile this, all of this exciting stuff with who you are, because otherwise you are not going to look dignified. You are not. You're going to look a little bit ridiculous. So by all means, take part in what's going on, but just keep checking in with yourself, because this is telling us a little bit about why it is you. You're the wounded healer. This is that you have been to battle. You have things that you have learned. Now, there's only one oil that says that's stronger than that, and that's Helichrysum. Helichrysum says the trauma that created you. But this isn't. Achilles was a titan who was dipped in the river Styx, and where his mum held him was where he was vulnerable, that tiny little bit. So this, whereas Helichrysum is Chiron, he is half human, half horse. So Helichrysum is much more soul path stuff. This is social conditioning. This is stuff that your parents brought to your being, right? So remember who you are. Be careful. Don't let mum and dad hold you back. Oh, who does she think she is? But do remember the things they taught you, because that's the good stuff. That's the stuff you've got to bring back to the table. So this is a very strange reading. Very, very strange reading. But I do think this journey now through the third house, think about your thinking, think about your thoughts. But ninth house stuff, absolutely beautiful. I wish this was my reading, to be honest with you. So now I'm going to sit and very carefully think about what the best course of action is for you for recipes. And do leave me some comments to see if that resonates, or feel free to message me and say this happened to me, because I'm sure it will feel very exciting when it happens. So enjoy this month. It sounds, when it's said out loud, quite a boring month because it's about thought, but actually I feel like it's going to feel incredibly exciting. So good luck. So hopefully you found that interesting and helpful. If you would like to get your own Tongue of the Trees box of cards, obviously I'd love you to do that. It pays for my work here. I'm going to put a link to my website below, and you'll be able to see where to be able to get those from. And also, if you want to go more deeper into the reading and start to understand the medical astrology and the elements, the Ayurvedic and the traditional Chinese medicine, as well as the chakras and the blending, you might also want to buy the knowledge base that goes with it. The knowledge base is a digital platform. It's like an online set of videos where I talk you through absolutely every aspect of the different essential oils. So there's around about 40 videos. It's a separate purchase, but obviously it's an immediate download if you want to be able to access that. So thank you. If you also want to have your own reading, please do check out my website, thesecrethealer.co.uk, and book yourself an hour-long consultation, and I will do you your own reading. For the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye. Say goodbye to the sun goddess, because next month it will be the Melissa, the goddess, the priestess that officiated at Demeter Cor's festival of the autumn in ancient Greece, the Mysteries of Eleusis. See you in Melissa land.
There will be comments, and if you want to, you can send a comment and say like hi's to Mum and Gergely, and then the link to the next video will be in the description below underneath the video. So bye.